What is the deal, beautiful people? My name is Ramon. Welcome back to the channel, and here we discuss any and everything photography. On this episode of AMA, we have a very good question. I think something that a lot of us kind of struggle with when we first start out as beginners. And here it is. I'm shooting with a Nikon D7100. I have an 18 to 140 kit lens and a 35mm fixed prime. My main subject of photography is scenic and some indoor and or family stuff. Would it be worth it to get something like a 10 to 24 as well? When I allude to something we all struggle with when we first start out, I'm really talking about that gas. And depending on how new you are, let me explain to you what GAS is. GAS is an acronym that stands for Gear Acquisition Syndrome. And that pretty much means we have to own it all. You see it, it must be had. You need a 50, you need a 35, you need an 85, you need a 135, you need a 24, you need an 18. Like, we need all the lenses, we need all the cameras, all the filters. And in reality, gas has a subset and an explanation because it really isn't a necessity. It's something that happens off to the left that you should know better. But it all, we all fall victim to gas. What I'm getting at here is a lens like an 18 to 140 is an amazing lens. Now, I'm not here to discuss the optics of that specific lens. I'm not here to compare it to something like an L glass or Zeiss glass. What I'm saying is that 18 to 140 is, and I think given the crop sensor on that D7100 is more like a 28 to 210. Given that focal range, that reach, that's a super versatile lens. You have at 28 millimeters, I think that's wide enough to capture a ton of landscape stuff. The only thing I would say it's not wide enough to capture is a landscape where you're right up on it. But at 28, that's the far wide angle of that lens, which is more than enough. And believe me, I've done tons of landscape with the 28 focal length because my main lens on my Sony is a 28 to 75. So I'm very familiar with that 28 focal length. And 210, my God, this 210 is the grail of portrait photography, right? It's almost the standard. And in fact, when you look at zoom lenses or for particularly marketed toward portrait photography, which you said is one of your interests here, you'll probably end up looking at a 70 to 210. So this 28 to 210 focal range that you have covers two zoom lenses in once. Usually it's a 28 to 75 or 24 to 70, whatever that, and then there's a 70 to 210. You've got both of those in one lens. What I will say, the caveat here is that 28 to 210, and I keep saying that's the focal comparison, my bad. That 18 to 140 is not as fast as some of the 28 to 75s you can buy, which will come with a standard 2.8 across the focal length, or the 70 to 210s, which also come in 2.8 across the focal lengths. Sure, you're missing out on that, but as a beginner, I don't think you'll hit that ceiling anytime soon where you need a super fast lens like that. And if that's the case, put the camera on a tripod. I mean, let's be for real here. So yeah, I think the 28 to 210, I keep saying that, sorry. The 18 to 140 is a great focal length. And I think with great attention to detail and attention to process, you can learn how to overcome the fact that it's not a fast 2.8 across the range. So I think you're fine here. You can not you can afford to not spend some money here, and then you still got that 35 to fall back on. So if you ever find that you want to do portraits with the super creamy depth of field in the back, well, then you've got your 35. As for talking about a 10 to 24, like I said in the beginning, unless this is a landscape where you're right up on it, I don't think a super wide would really get you any better results than your default 18 or that 18 focal range. In fact, there are a lot of videos out there that discuss, for landscapes, you really want to pay attention to your composition, and most times you'll find that includes coming in kind of tight and tightening up that composition. So yeah, having a wide 18, I'm sorry, having a 10 to 24 may not give you the versatility you need in landscape, but ultimately these are all hypothetical scenarios. I think it's best for you to go out and exercise that 18 to 140 as much as possible, as many landscapes as you can. And I'm a big advocate for finding one spot. I learned this from Jerry very early on in the game, because he would shoot the same lighthouse over and over and over. And I since got a lighthouse of my own. I shot the cityscape of Manhattan and Dumbo for years, and I shot that with so many different lenses, cameras, focal ranges, and it really allowed me to think, because my subject was relatively the same, but my settings and my gear would change, and I started to develop an idea for where my limitations exist and how to get around them, or some of them you just couldn't get around, and then you went and you bought the band-aid that was needed for that specific scenario. So yeah, I think you're okay with that one super zoom. I think those are quite good lenses, and I know you'll read everywhere else people are gonna say, yeah, but it's only 5.6 to 6.3 on the aperture. Like, so what? What do those numbers mean when you're shooting landscape? You're probably gonna be at f8 to f16 anyway. Like, it doesn't matter. And if you need to dip down to a 5.6 or 3.5 to 6.3, whatever it is, you're probably going to be on a tripod, and you're probably going to be using your shutter speed to counterbalance your exposure. So don't worry about it. You're fine. I want to know from the rest of you guys, what do you think? What do you recommend? Leave it in the comment section down below. If you like the video, hit like. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel. My name is Ramon. I'm out of here. Peace.